Welcome to the 249 Marathon Project Week 5 update. In this video, I'll discuss how all the training sessions from Week 5 went, and I'll go through all the metrics and discuss how the training is going so far. Just a reminder, if you do enjoy this content or you're following along with the 249 Marathon Project, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything. It's just a little thing that you can do to help me out. Like it, share it, comment. I'd love to hear your feedback and the type of training that you do compared to what I'm doing for this 249 project. It'd be really interesting to get some back and forth in the comments. So, in general, week 5 was a good positive week. I dropped a little bit of weight, not as much as maybe I would have liked to, but then again, I didn't put as many miles on the road either. So it's a bit of a trade-off. I got good rest and recovery. I have to admit it was a bit of I struggled a wee bit at the beginning of the week with a bit of low mood, a bit of lack of motivation. I wouldn't say I was out of that until maybe after my Thursday progression run, which was a very, very good run, and I enjoyed it. And I think that was kind of the impetus to get me through that. That's not something that happens to me a lot, but I wouldn't say it never happens. Maybe once or twice a year, I'll have a few days here and there where I get the lingering effects from the stroke back in 2017. So it's still there. It never really goes away forever, but I'm very thankful and grateful that that these bouts of low mood, they don't last as long as they used to, and when they do come, they're not as intense as they used to be. So enough about that. The week has turned into a very good week. By the end of the week, I had 2 very good runs that I was extremely happy with. Let's start with Monday. Monday was a non-running day, as it has been since week 1. It was a no running day. I spent a lot of time outside, working around the house, did some plastering, pretty rigorous work. As far as nutrition goes on Monday, I had just under 2,100 calories, 112 grams of protein, 237 grams of carbs, and 73 grams of fat. And I also drank 4.25 liters of water. So nutrition-wise, not bad, not great, not bad. As far as strength and conditioning goes, I did my 20-minute body weight workout, which I did every single morning this past week. And on Monday, I had just over 6.5 hours sleep. All told, decent day. Tuesday was a 8-mile or 13K hilly run. Hilly run is different than a hill rep session. So it's similar in that we're trying to get that strength and speed and aerobic capacity, but it's more of a race-specific type of session in that in a race you don't go up and down a hill constantly. On a hilly run, I'm just going over a course that has 2 or 3 good challenging hills in them. In this case, I went up a mountain gap and back down again, and it covered about 171 meters of elevation gain. So good hard workout, enjoyed it. I love that particular route going up the mountain gap. I've mentioned it before, and then turned around and came back down again. For that workout, I wore Nike Revolution 6 trainers. I got out at 9:26 in the morning, and it was 24 degrees Celsius, which is about 74 degrees Fahrenheit. For nutrition, I had just under 1,800 calories, which was my target for this week, being a cutback week. Knowing I wasn't going to be putting in huge miles, I was hoping to keep my calories around 1,800. This was one of the days that I was successful in doing so. I had 115 grams of protein, 172 grams of carbs, 69 grams of fat, and once again, 4.25 liters of water. Tuesday's strength and conditioning, I did my 20-minute body weight workout, and I also did my 20-minute yoga session. It was the only yoga session I got in this week. So once again, I'm a little behind in my yoga. This upcoming week, I'm definitely going to get my yoga sessions in, and I will also try to get another sports massage. And for sleep on Tuesday, I had just under 6 hours of sleep. Wednesday was my second non-running day of the week, which was much needed. I think my body was ready for a cutback week. That said, I consumed 2,300 calories for the day, 201 grams of protein, 216 grams of carbs, 66 grams of fat, and 3.75 liters of water. I did do my 20-minute body weight workout, and for sleep, I had just a hair under 7.5 hours, 7:27. Thursday was a progression run. Now, I absolutely love progression runs. I find them fun. I find them challenging. I find that I have to think tactically and I plan my route. And there's a lot of things happening on a progression run, especially if I'm really concentrating on getting that progression in. 7 miles isn't a particularly long progression run, but it's still a challenge. It's 11 kilometers. For this one, I changed it over to miles because 7 miler is a little bit easier to plan than, say, an 11K. I'm still not 100% confident in my pace when it comes to minutes per kilometer. So I executed this one with the watch set to miles. It was a success. My first mile was 8:34, and I worked my way down to 6:24. I got out just after 10 in the morning. It was 27 degrees, just over 81 degrees Fahrenheit. Thoroughly enjoyed this run. I hit my progression every single mile, and it was well executed, well planned, and just everything about it went well. This was the run that I kind of went out not feeling great, or motivation wasn't there, and then by the time I came back, I think that's what really turned my week around for the positive, my headspace anyway. And sometimes, one run can change your day, one run can change your week. For some people, one run can change your life. And for me, this was one of those runs that just changed my week, and it turned it right around. For this run, I wore my old pair of Alphafly 1s. Once again, because it was a challenging run, I wanted to be able to get some pace. I don't know how many more miles I'll have on these. One of the pods has collapsed on it, so they're probably not the healthiest pair of trainers for me to be training in, but I do keep them in the rotation. So on Thursday, I had just under 2,200 calories, 195 grams of protein, 219 grams of carbs, 55 grams of fat, and 2.5 liters of water. Strength and conditioning, I did my 20-minute body weight workout. And for sleep, I had 7 hours, 29 minutes, just under the 7.5 hours. So an excellent day. Probably one of my better days that I've had in the last week and a half. So Friday, once again, my 5K social run with friends. Love it. We had just an exceptional morning for it. One of my friends got some great news, and we were all just in great form for that one. We got out at 8:38 in the morning, and it was 23 degrees, which is 73 degrees Fahrenheit. Once again, I wore my Nike Revolution 6 trainers. For nutrition, I had just under 2,000 calories, which was made up of 117 grams of protein, 258 grams of carbs, 58 grams of fats, and I had 3.25 liters of water. Once again, I did my 20-minute body weight workout, and for sleep, I had 9 hours and 23 minutes. Okay, Saturday was a really interesting day. So I was at the barber's on Wednesday, getting my hair cut, and he mentioned that the next town over had their annual 5K, and so I looked it up online and I registered. It was a free race, which was superb. It's an evening race, evening 5K, and I registered online, and I went by myself to this neighboring village where everyone speaks Spanish. My Spanish is okay. I get by, and if I can speak with somebody who will work with me or will speak a little bit slower, I'm grand. I'll get by. So it was a real interesting event for me. I went on my own, completely on my own, didn't know a soul there, and I don't even know how these events work in Spain. So I've been to hundreds of events throughout Ireland, the UK, the US, but I've only ever been to one event in Spain, and that was the marathon in Valencia last year. So how does a local 5K event run? Well, I was really pleased to say that it was an excellent event. There was so much support on the road. They had kids races of different ages and different distances, and the adult race was last, and it went off just after 7 o'clock at night. It was 24 degrees, which is still warm, 74 degrees, almost 75 Fahrenheit. I made a rookie mistake and I didn't get myself up to the front. The other thing I didn't realize was that it was gun time. There was no start mat. We had chips for the finish line, but there was no starting mat. So it was gun time, and I lost a number of seconds there, working my way through and finding my space. Eventually, I found it. It was a tough enough course, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't know if I've ever been to a 5K race that had such support on the streets. It was amazing. Very, very impressed with the people of Sachs. They were just an amazing, amazing event. I loved it. It was so good. Uh, I was fortunate enough to be the second old man in my category. My time wasn't particularly great, but it could have been better, and it probably should have been better. But overall, here it was a fair course. The hill was a challenge, but there's nowhere in this part of Spain that you can find that is flat. It was very enjoyable. I was really pleased with my splits. They were not necessarily fast, but they were consistent. So for the 5K, my splits were 348, 350, 349, 353, 353. Very pleased with that. I was able to maintain my pace pretty much throughout, and yeah, and just a thoroughly enjoyable night. I did wear my racing shoes, my Alpha Fly ones. Those are my marathon racers. For nutrition, I had just under 2,200 calories for the day, 128 grams of protein, 265 grams of carbs, 68 grams of fat, and 3.5 liters of water. So it was Saturday, no strength work, and I did not get yoga in. I only did get the one session of yoga in this week. And for sleep, I got set just over 7 hours, almost 7 hours, 10 minutes. Sunday was my long, slow distance run. Once again, I was a little bit late getting out for it, and I don't necessarily think I was not motivated for it. I think I was just a little bit tired, and the legs were a little bit heavy from the race the night before. So I did get out late. It was 10:56 in the morning, just before 11 a.m. And at that point, temperature had risen to 26 degrees, which is 79 Fahrenheit. I wore my Hoka Rocket X2s. For nutrition, I had just over 2,200 calories, 2,260 something. That consisted of 196 grams of protein, 300 grams of carbs, 36 grams of fat, and 4.5 liters of water. No strength and conditioning on Sunday, and my total hours of sleep, I got 9 hours of sleep on the button. Okay, so that was the weekly sessions. As you can tell, it was overall a very good week. I have to say I was pleased with it, and now looking back on it, I'm even more pleased. It was everything a cutback week should be. A little bit of intensity, some good miles, but I think overall I got a lot of I got a lot of rest and a lot of sleep. Whether that's positive or negative, I don't know yet. Okay, so let's look at some of the metrics. For body weight, I lost 0.6 of a pound, so I was 158 at the week 4 weigh-in. At the week 5 weigh-in on Friday, I was 157.4. So down not a lot, half a pound, little over half a pound, which is about a quarter of a kilo, 0.25, 250 grams. Is that right? Probably. I'm not sure. So yeah, it's in the right direction. It's not where I need to be, but yeah, it's better. I can feel the machine kicking in. That mightn't make sense to you, but having done this so many times, I know that I lose weight the first week, it'll be quick, and then it'll just be like, how am I ever going to lose this weight? And then the machine kicks in, and I can up my calories a wee bit, and I can burn off the weight really quickly. So I suspect that um, I'll be under my target weight for next week. I wasn't under this week. I was hoping to be 156 this week. I was 157.4. My instinct, my gut tells me I'll be around 155 or even slightly below that next week. For my strength and conditioning, I kept everything the same, 5 days a week, 40 reps per exercise. I'll put a link in the description as to what my strength and conditioning looks like. So when it comes to lessons learned, I don't really necessarily think I have any lessons learned, but I have some comments on the blog post that I will put a link to the blog post in the description as well. I go into a lot more detail in that. But needless to say, lessons learned. I have to say every training block is different. This training block, I'm basing this off of my Manchester training, which was January, February, March earlier this year. I had a great run. I recognized that I didn't hit my target, and it was because I didn't have specific sessions in my pace phase and into my race phase of my training. I'm making those adjustments in this plan. However, I don't know that I have the turnover, the pace that I had back in earlier this year yet. What I suspect it is the warmer weather, and it is starting to cool off now. So I'm hoping that that comes as the weather gets cooler. Your body adapts to each session to where it needs the work the most. So in other words, your weakest point. I'm considering that what my body has been doing this early in the plan is that it's adapting to the heat. I'm becoming more and more heat adapted, and I'm not getting the pace and the speed that I'm looking for. However, I am getting work out of it. I'm getting the endurance work. And I think as we go, I'm hoping my speed endurance will start to really kick in as the weather cools off a wee bit. It's another indication that every training block is different. And, you know, with experience, you don't tend to worry about these things. I'm not worried about it yet. I'm one of these unusual people that my race times in the shorter distance do not translate to my marathon race times. So although my paces in the shorter stuff aren't great yet, and they'll turn over. Like in for my Manchester training, my 5K times were well down there, and so were my 10K times. My 5K race there on Saturday was 20 seconds faster than my 5K time trial from week 2. And that said, the course was a lot more difficult, and like I said, I got stuck in the pack. So I'm pleased with the progress so far, especially considering I'm in the middle of this. I'll put a link to the video of the week 6 training sessions in the description here, and it's also in the blog, which I'll put let's take a quick run through the metrics. As I mentioned, I'm down 0.6 of a pound. Not a ton, but it's in the right direction. My weekly daily average resting heart rate was down to 38. Yeah, once again, I don't know. I'm taking the data from the watch. It is or it isn't correct. I don't know. I am getting my chest strap for my training sessions that I'll wear when I'm training. At the minute, I don't do heart rate training per se. I do running by feel, effort, that kind of thing. Now that I've had my VO2 max tested and I've got my proper heart rate zones, it'll be curious how different the watch is compared to the chest strap. So my average sleep was up to 7 hours and 51 minutes. That's a lot for me. I function quite happily on 6 to 6.5 hours of sleep. I don't know where that's going, but we'll see. I'll keep a close eye on it. My average protein intake is 152 grams, up 21 grams from last week. That's where I want to be. I want to be right in and around 150 grams of protein per day. So that was excellent. As far as water goes, my water intake was just under 4 liters per day. It needed to be, and it probably should have been for the first 4 weeks anyway. I'm not far off it. So 4 liters a day in this climate, perfectly acceptable. And because it was a cutback week, I was down 22.5 kilometers over last week, or just under 13 miles. And just in summary, it was a good week, positive week. Week 6 promises to be a really good week. I've got some very difficult and interesting speed endurance sessions, and including my Sunday long run is going to be a split session with a good chunk of miles at at almost marathon pace. But it's starting to really build into this pace phase of the plan. So that's it for me. I will see you next Friday with the week 7 sessions. I hope you have a great week. And yeah, please do like, share, and subscribe to this. I would greatly appreciate it. See you then.